Here's the brief. News from the world over this week. As President Donald Trump and the First Lady met with Hurricane Irma victims and first responders on Thursday, Floridians are coming to grips with the fallout from that Category 3 storm that battered most of the state. Nearly 10 million people have been without electricity, just under half of Florida's population. Officials warned it could be another 2 weeks before power is restored. An estimated 25% of the homes in the Florida Keys were destroyed and 90% sustained damage. About 110,000 people remained in shelters across the state. Irma is being blamed for more than a dozen deaths in addition to 4 in South Carolina and 2 in Georgia. At least 37 people were killed in the Caribbean. We ask you to keep all those people in your prayers. And Pope Francis wrapped up his visit to Colombia on Sunday. The trip got off to a rocky start when the Pope-mobile abruptly stopped. The Pope was knocked off balance and his head slammed into a metal bar on the vehicle. He ended up with a black eye that became darker since his return to Rome. A cut on his eyebrow dripped blood onto his cassock. Bruises and all, Francis carried on. On the papal plane, he later joked about the incident, saying he'd been punched. Hope that shiner clears up soon. And as the Church prepares to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Humanae Vitae, Pope Paul VI's landmark encyclical forbidding artificial contraception, a secret commission approved and appointed by Pope Francis has been convened to study the document. Rumors of such a commission were reported earlier this year, but were only confirmed after a Vatican memo was leaked to Italian media. The memo states that a 4-member commission will promote a comprehensive and authoritative study of Humanae Vitae to, quote, deepen understanding of the encyclical. Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia, the president of the Pontifical Academy for Life, has since had to defend the commission's work. He's denied that it seeks to reread or reinterpret the encyclical in a way that would allow contraception. We'll unpack this very important story and how the liturgy of the Church might change, or at least the sound of it, later with the papal posse. And some good news. Father Tom Uzunalil was released from captivity this week, 18 months after being kidnapped by Islamic militants in Yemen. ISIS jihadists abducted the Salesian priest during an attack on a missionary of charity home in Aden. The 56-year-old cleric had been serving as chaplain to the sisters there for 4 years. Videos of Father Tom had been released by his captors in both May and December. They showed the priest bearded and frail. Well, Father was released to the Salesian brothers in Rome for a few days before returning home to India. On Wednesday, Father Tom had an emotional meeting with Pope Francis. He even kissed the Pope's feet. He said he offered his captivity and suffering for the Pope and the Church. And same-sex marriage is up for a vote in Australia. Beginning this week, some 16 million voters will receive mail ballots asking simply, should the law be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry? Should a majority of Australians support same-sex marriage, Parliament will then vote by December to lift the current ban. In the recent polls, 70% say they intend to vote in favor of gay marriage. And rejecting an order from Pope Francis, the Brothers of Charity announced Tuesday that they will continue offering euthanasia to non-terminally ill patients in their facilities. The religious order runs 15 psychiatric hospitals in Belgium. At a press conference, its leaders claimed that their policy conforms to Catholic moral teaching, and there can be absolutely no doubt about their fidelity to church teaching. They said their policy still defends the idea that life should be defended, while respecting the freedom of doctors to perform euthanasia or not in their hospitals. The Brothers of Charity adopted this odd policy for the Belgian hospitals in April. This view was not shared with Brother Stockman, the Superior General of the order, who called on the Vatican to take action. In August, Pope Francis had ordered the Brothers of Charity to change their policy and conform to church teaching. We'll see what happens. And a Catholic chapel that survived the September 11th terrorist attacks in New York may not survive a hefty rent increase. On the eve of the 16th anniversary of the attacks, a group of 9/11 families, parishioners, and neighbors held a news conference and rallied to keep St. Joseph's Chapel open instead of replacing it with a high-end retail store. The chapel, located within Gateway Plaza, right across from where the Twin Towers once stood, served as a command center for rescue workers and volunteers. It also provided solace to grieving families in the aftermath of that tragedy. But in the last few years, St. Joseph's rent has gone from $75,000 a year to $300,000. The Catholic Archdiocese of New York says this struggling parish cannot sustain the cost. So some parishioners have come up with a plan. Their plan is to have the Battery Park City Authority repurpose St. Joseph as a Battery Park Community Center. New York City Council member Margaret Chin, who attended the news conference, called on Governor Cuomo, who appoints members of the Battery Park City Authority, to step in and save the chapel. And finally, back in Florida, one nun has gained worldwide attention for doing her part to clean up debris following Hurricane Irma. Miami-Dade police caught Sister Margaret Ann on video in full habit taking a chainsaw to several downed trees. The discalced Carmelite was cleaning the roadways around Archbishop Coleman Carroll High School near Miami, where she is the principal. Miami-Dade police posted this video of Sister Margaret Ann hard at work on social media. The post reads, "Acts of kindness like Sister Margaret Ann's remind residents that they're all part of the same community. Thank you, Sister, and all our neighbors that are working together to get through this." As the saying goes, preach the gospel. If necessary, use a chainsaw. I love that. She's getting it done. God bless, Sister.